Welcome back, everybody, to my last brain cell. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope that the most recent week has been good to you as we kind of quickly head towards the end of January. January has felt suspiciously long. If I'm being honest, I don't know about you guys, but this month did not seem to fly. I feel like January is usually the month. Oh my goodness gracious. I feel like January is usually the month that flies the quickest when it comes to the new year. So I'm really glad that oh, maybe glad's not the right word, but I'm really surprised that it didn't last anywhere near as long. Yo, this tower is shaky. Wow, this is risky. Anyway, yeah, anyway, let's go to the question of the day. Question of the day, and I'll tell you what inspired this question. So I recently am really trying to get my diet in order. Like I love the gym, but I also, guys, I just love food. I love food so much, and unfortunately my love for food turns into not so good habits. My relationship with food is not the greatest, right? So I'm really working on my diet, and I was thinking about words the other day. So I was thinking about the word diet, and I was like, man, like it's so annoying to think about the fact that in order to have a real successful diet, you have to be strict, right? But more than strict, it's really repetitive. You have to eat the same things over and over and over again. And to me, that's why I don't like to diet, because the foods that you should be eating on a diet I find super restrictive. And I love food too much to want to restrict myself that much to the same thing over and over and over again. I like some diversity. So I'm really trying to be super diligent when it comes to a diet, but making sure I'm just eating smart, right? But anyway, so I was thinking about the word diet, and I was like, damn, you really gotta eat these things over and over and over again. And I was like, wow, diet literally stands for do it every time, right? DIET, do it every time. And it spawned this question. Do you guys ever make words into acronyms? Like there are obviously certain acronyms that are out there, right? NASA, and right now I can't even think about what it means. PBS, NBC, those are all acronyms. But are there words that you turn into acronyms, right? Like in the one example besides the diet one that I came up with personally, I'm gonna claim all the credit for that. I don't know if it's out there in the ethos somewhere, but I'm claiming it. The one example that really comes to mind is when Drake said Drake stands for do right and kill everything. That's the only example besides, very obvious, well, not obvious. That's the only example that I know of where a word was turned into an acronym as opposed to an acronym meaning a bunch of words. So, my question once again to all of you out there who are watching this show, and if you are watching, I appreciate you. Do you ever turn a word into an acronym? Let me know in the comments, please and thank you. And while you're doing that, we're going to move on to, of course, pick your poison. So I've been thinking about getting some Legos, just to kind of have something very different to do to occupy my time. Right, I collect a lot of stuff. Clearly, I don't think even as a kid I really had Legos. I remember having like those big jumbo like block type joints, but like never an official Lego set. I don't recall. I probably did. No, you know what I did have? Ooh, you know what I did have when I was a kid? They weren't. I don't know. I don't remember if they were Lego branded then. If they were always Lego products, or if Lego bought them down the line or whatever. But Bionicle, y'all remember them shits? Like they were like I don't even know. They were almost like Alien versus Predator type of like creatures, but they were like made out of like Lego bricks. Them shits were fire. My brother and I were obsessed with those things. My mom, she definitely would buy us those because she was like, nah, these is, and I think she bought us them. My mom was very interesting, right? Because she wouldn't buy us things that most kids would have, right? Like we didn't have PlayStation 2s and 3s or Xboxes. My brother and I, we stuck with Nintendos. We had the DS, we had the GameCube, we had the Wii, we had all those things, right? Like in my mom's head, I think her logic was if it's fun for the entire family, then you can get it. But if it's fun for only a specific demographic, then no, you can't. And that's just my assumption. I could be very wrong, but like she bought us Bionicle, and she enjoyed like the because they used to be able to shapeshift too, and she liked that like mechanic of it. She bought us, Smash Bros and Pokemon because they forced us to read and they did different things. I don't know. I think she also wanted us to be like stimulated by the things we were doing when we were kids, as opposed to just like sitting down and just like fighting like normal, like on like a PlayStation game or whatever, or a GTA. I don't know. I'm rambling, but anyway, I'm thinking about getting Legos. So let me know, which is where I wanted to go with this, if there are Legos out there that you guys have, what it looks like, what you like about them, and how you go about choosing your Legos. Because I've seen some and I'm like, I got to get it. Use the word literally in literally every conversation. Have all your illnesses treated by a 12th century doctor. Get an unstoppable nosebleed whenever you get on a plane. So I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't go to the doctor often as is anyway. I think I'm relatively healthy. I take care of myself pretty well. Although I occasionally might gorge myself with crappy food, but I do generally take care of myself pretty well. When it comes to me being sick, I always know the right things to take. So having all my illnesses treated by a 12th century doctor is probably the most terrifying thing I can think of, because I don't want him to try to give me like, I don't know, like methamphetamines, or try to give me, the spleen of a rat and tell me it's going to cure my headache. I don't want any part of that whatsoever. So I'm going to immediately omit have all my illnesses treated by a 12th century doctor. Getting unstoppable nosebleed whenever I get on a plane also sounds horrendous. I don't get on planes often. Like even when I go home, New York City is an 8-hour-ish drive. I know your maps might tell you less than 7 hours, but don't listen to it because it doesn't account for the traffic that you encounter as you get closer to the city. Um, so that's an hour and a half flight and an 8-hour drive. I always drive, so I don't get on planes often. But if I got an unstoppable nosebleed whenever I got on a plane, I think it would just deter me from flying in general. I would never get on a plane ever. I would miss so many opportunities in life because I just refuse to deal with an unstoppable. It'd be one thing if it was like get a nosebleed every time I get on the plane, whatever. But it's just gonna constantly stream. Like I once I went to China when I was in high school through a program, right? And that was a 18-20 hour flight. I don't remember, maybe somewhere between 13 and like 18 hours that flight was. I feel like I'd be dead. I'm not playing this game too. I'm not dealing with that. There's absolutely no way I'm gonna allow myself to go through a traumatic experience such as an unstoppable nosebleed. Stop shaking, bro. Yeah, there's absolutely no way. So with that said, I also think sometime when it comes to pick your poison, even if it is something that might not be good, I'm going to pick it for how funny it is. And I think that it would be hysterical for me to say the word literally in ay caramba. Literally, ooh, oh, I must commit. I'm the fucking best. I think it'd be hilarious to use the word literally in literally every conversation. Like I said, the best. Yeah, so I am not gonna deal with getting an unstoppable nosebleed on the plane on every time on every time. I'm not gonna deal with this nosebleed situation on every plane that I get on. There's no way, because like I said, it would just deter me from flying, and I know I'd miss hella opportunities. I'm not gonna go through life missing opportunities like that. I guess I'm not the best. But I will use the word literally in literally every conversation because it doesn't say I have to use it in every sentence. It just means every conversation. So every time I engage in a conversation with somebody, the word literally will come out of my mouth. And I feel like that's fine because I probably have used the word literally in a conversation before without even realizing it. So totally fine. Let me know what you guys are putting in the comments. Are you going to allow all of your illnesses to be treated by a 12th century doctor? Are you going to get an unstoppable nosebleed whenever you get on a plane? Or are you going to do the sensible thing and use the word literally in literally every conversation? Let me know in the comments. While you're doing that and getting your thoughts together, I'm gonna move on to the Wheel of Fun. All right, y'all. Let's see what the wheel has in store for us today. Something random. You know, something random is so funny because it really just allows me to abuse. I think I said this before last time I had something random. It just allows me to abuse my powers to do whatever I want because it's my show. And of course, I'm going to talk about anime. But before I do that, I do want to give you guys the on this day fact. And I don't even need my handy dandy notebook for this one. On this day, today is the 5-year anniversary of Kobe and his daughter Gianna's passing after that horrible, horrible helicopter crash. Dog, I'll never forget when um when that news broke. I was living with one of my best friends, who I've known for years. Like I've known this man at this point now. I've known him for probably 17 years, which is crazy. That's insane. Anyway, so we were home and I remember going on Facebook and someone said Kobe Bryant died. And I was like, what the fuck? What you mean Kobe Bryant died? I said to my boy, like, yo, someone said Kobe Bryant died. And he was like, what? And I want to say, like, because I want to say the year prior, Nipsey Hussle was killed, if I'm not mistaken. In 29, if I'm not mistaken, 2019 is the death of Nipsey Hussle. If it wasn't 2019, it was definitely 2020 or 2021. I really don't remember, but somewhere in that same time span, Nipsey Hussle's death also happened. So LA was having a really bad time. But yeah, so I got the news and I told him that. He was like, what? So he goes on like he goes like to Google and all the other things. There's no news of it. About 7 minutes later, boom, news broke. Kobe Bryant was dead. And we were like, what? And it didn't feel real. So I went to work that day and everyone's obviously talking about it. And I remember telling one of my managers at the time, because I was still working at Wegmans. I remember telling one of my managers at the time that, in high school, everyone was obsessed with Kobe. I want to say that the majority of the people that I hung out with were Kobe Bryant fans, right? And I was never a huge fan of basketball then. I was much more into football. I watched a couple of basketball games because they were on, but I had always primarily turned my attention towards football. But hearing Kobe Bryant's name so much, I was just like, man, whatever. So I as a child had initially like not doubted his greatness, but was just like whatever on Kobe Bryant because everyone was talking about him, right? Like it was just like a show that it's like now when you hear about people talking about a show like Game of Thrones, everyone talked about Game of Thrones. So there are some people out there, a very, very, very small population of folks who are like, whatever. I'm not watching Game of Thrones because everyone else has watched it. Like I just refuse at this point, right? And that's kind of where my mind was with Kobe. Like whatever, like he's your favorite, whatever. He's great, whatever. I just didn't really care, right? And after his passing, obviously everyone was posting like videos and clips and whatever. So I was closing the store at the time, and actually yeah, no, this is 2020. So I want to say by this point, the stores were closing because Wegmans used to be 24 hours. I think the one I was at used to be 24 hours, but they started closing at midnight. So I remember having to close the store and it got to like 12 and I was just waiting for a couple of things to like finish up. Maybe right before 12. I was waiting for a couple of things to finish up. And I remember coming across a clip of Dwayne Wade talking about um, what Kobe Bryant meant to him and how his death is affecting him. And the reason why his video was so powerful to me was because it wasn't until like I knew about his wife, I knew he had daughters, like I knew things about Kobe Bryant, but it wasn't until Dwayne Wade's video talking about him that I saw him as Kobe Bryant the person, not the basketball player that everyone raves about. I know that sounds silly and crazy, but you know, I always acknowledge that he was great. Like I know Kobe Bryant is great, or I should say I knew Kobe Bryant was great, right? Like that was irrelevant at the time because of how much he was talked about. It was just like whatever. Like, yeah, he's great. We all know that. Like I don't have to idolize him the same way you guys idolize him. Like, and that's kind of where my mind was at. But it wasn't until I saw D Wade's video and I was like, oh shoot, that's right. He's also a man. Like, this is a mortal man. This is a human being who had a lot more outside of life than basketball. So I started looking more into Kobe and watching more of his clips from like a new point of view. But I also, when I watched D-Wade's video, bro, I'll never forget, I started shedding that single thug tear. And I was like, damn, like, I don't remember anything Dwayne Wade said, but I do remember the feeling of being like, damn, like this, we and the black community, all the young black boys I went to school with, they lost their idol. And it was one of the first moments in time that I realized how mortal people are. You know what I mean? Like we idolize these people and we put them on pedestals and we feel like they'll live forever and their legacy might, but their body won't. And it was one of the first times that I was like, oh shit, like that Kobe Bryant to an entire generation or my generation was basically what like Michael Jackson probably felt like to my parents. Like my mom cried when Michael Jackson died. I remember being like, oh shit, Michael Jackson's dead. And again, at that point, I knew Michael Jackson was great. Like I discovered that by myself, but his death didn't hit me. But Kobe Bryant, yeah, that shit was crazy. That shit was crazy. Yeah. So that's one of the random things I want to talk about. In other random news, I was gonna talk about anime, and I will real quick, but I won't dwell on it. Because I feel like that was a real powerful and poignant point to stop at. But I'm gonna give you some anime talk anyway, because I fucking love me some anime. So real quick, I finally finished Castlevania Nocturne. Sensational season 2. It was immaculate. The final fight on that show was insane. Oh, Alucard basically turned into his daddy, started doing the attacks that his father was doing. Richter was doing craziness with the combos and the animation. The score. It's and this will be the last thing I talk about because I was gonna talk about other anime, but I'm actually gonna end it on Castlevania Nocturne. I find it so interesting the difference between American animation and Japanese animation, and not in the drawings or the art styles or anything like that, just in how fight scenes are handled. Castlevania Nocturne had probably 13 minutes of pure action. And maybe the entire 28, 30-minute episode, there might have been 200 words spoken. If that. If that. Because most of it was just because these niggas were boxing. Like the girl was throwing combos as a dragon, had the dragon throwing I never seen a dragon throw hands before. It was crazy. So they were going nuts. But in anime, these niggas will be giving it their all and monologuing. You're not tired, bro? I know all of my lung capacity would be given to every single blow that I'm delivering to my opponent. I don't have time to also tell you my life story. And I find it I love anime. Clearly. I love anime. You feel? I love it. I love anime. But I just find it so funny that in every fight, just about every single fight, you're gonna have somebody chatting, whether it's the characters themselves, whether they're thinking in their heads, whether there's someone on the side who has to interject. I just find it so funny that in America or the animation studios, like, and Castlevania is my one and only piece of evidence at this point in time that I can think of But I just find it so funny that in all the fight scenes, they're not talking at all. There's no words, there's no subtitles to tell you grunts, this, that. There's just hands. Boxing must ensue. That's what you're here for. That's what you're going to get. And I appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by, everybody. As always, not as always, I guess, as I've been saying, we are on the hunt for 1,000 subscribers. This is Mission 1K. So please, 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 I hope that you are telling a friend to tell a friend. Please make sure that you are liking, make sure you are commenting, and make sure you are subscribing, please. As always, I appreciate you tuning in and stopping by. Thank you. Until next time, this is King Echo. I had a major brain fart on my own sign off. This is King Echo signing off. Wow.